Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do yet another foundation review, and it is going to be on one that I've talked about for months on my channel, and I always have y'all ask me to do a review, a specific independent review on this foundation, and I'm sorry I'm just now getting around to it, but at least I'm doing it, and it is the Kjaer Weis Cream Foundation. Now, if you're not familiar with Kjaer Weis, it is an organic makeup line started by a makeup artist from Denmark by the name of Kirsten Kjaer Weis. From what I've heard in her interviews, she got to a point where a lot of her models were looking at the things that she had in her kit saying, I can't use that. I've used that before. It's broke me out. I've used that before. It irritates my skin. I can't use that. I can't use that. And she got to a point where she was like, well, let's find out what you can use. And she ended up developing her own organic line. So this is what I have heard being compared as the Tom Ford of the green beauty space. It is very luxury. It is very high-end, and the prices do match. This particular product, the cream foundation, is $68, and it comes in 14 shades. The shade range is not ideal. I have found with many natural foundations, it doesn't go as dark as I would like to see them go. I have had comments before on videos saying that it's harder to make the pigment as dark and still remain natural to get an even darker formula. So I don't know if that's the reason. I honestly don't know, but I do know that while 14 shades is not abysmal, the amount of dark shades pretty much is. They do, the first time you purchase this, it comes in this gorgeous packaging, which twists open. This is a very heavy, luxurious compact, very gorgeous. However, you don't have to rebuy the compact, and you don't even have to buy the compact to begin with, because she does sell refills for every single one of her products, foundation included, where it's in a magnetic pan that you can stick into this or that you could put into a Z palette. There is a very small hole back in the back of the compact that you stick a little toothpick through, and the current compact will pop out. So I do love that. She's very sustainable in her packaging in that sense. So again, it's $68 in the compact, $40 outside of the compact. I am in the color Just Sheer, which is the 7th darkest shade in the line, if that tells you anything. Okay, the Beauty List says Just Sheer is a warm beige color. So again, obviously I have it on my face today, but that is the color that I am in. This has 0.26 fluid ounces, which is a very small amount, but it is not that much smaller than if you were to purchase a stick foundation anywhere else. For instance, most stick foundations are about 0.3 ounces. Most. Some have more, but that's pretty equivalent with what's in here. Real quick on the claims and ingredients, and then we will get into a demo. This says, perfect your skin without a single synthetic ingredient. This award-winning cream foundation delivers versatile coverage solution thanks to a blendable, buildable formula. Kjaer Weis Cream Foundation is formulated with moisturizing and age-defying ingredients such as jojoba seed oil, sweet almond oil, and coconut oil. Creamy, blendable, weightless texture with a semi-matte finish. Moisturizing. The coconut oil is a natural skin moisturizer. The sweet almond seed oil is a natural emollient used to moisturize and promote skin elasticity. The jojoba seed oil is rich in fatty acids, which promote skin elasticity and reduce signs of aging. So, as far as the ingredients, I have read that 95% are organic, and the remaining 5% are derived from natural ingredients. So again, there is absolutely nothing synthetic in this foundation. And even so, it still has a shelf life of 12 months, which is pretty impressive because most natural products don't have as high of a shelf life, especially if there's absolutely no synthetic preservatives in them. So to be a 12-month shelf life, I think that's awesome. Now, as far as having coconut oil in it, I know a lot of people automatically put their hand up and they're like, I can't believe this would have coconut oil in it. And here's the thing. Coconut oil does not bother everybody. I understand there are some people who cannot do coconut oil. There are some people who cannot do fragrance. That irritates their skin just as much as coconut oil does, which is loaded in a lot of conventional makeup. Not all, but a lot. So it's that kind of 50-50, like conventional is not going to be for everybody, natural is not going to be for everybody. That's why I like to bring a mixture of the two to my channel to kind of tell you how it works. I talk about the coconut oil more after the demo, like in my final thoughts, but just keep that in mind. But if you are somebody who doesn't have an issue with coconut oil and you want to see how this cream foundation works, or if you want to see how maybe it would work for you, even if you do, I don't know, then just keep on watching because I am going to go into the demo right now. Pull my hair back. My lips are so full of being dry. They're not like chap dry, but they're just tight dry. So I'm just using some of the Beautycounter Calendula lip conditioner. Now let's talk about how Kjaer Weis suggests using this foundation. She says that it can be applied with your fingers or a foundation brush. She sells a foundation brush and it's basically just a flat paddle foundation brush, one of the old school ones. I'm not against them. I think there is a time and a place for them. Hers is a little bit shorter, so she finds that it's easier to grip. Again, not against them. I just don't find that it works the best for me with this foundation. As far as what kind of base it needs to go on, she does claim that it needs to go on a well moisturized face. I cannot agree with that more. She says it's because of the lack of synthetic ingredients that this is something that needs to be put on a moisturized base. She recommends putting it on top of her Beautiful oil, which I don't have. I have tried samples of it. I think it's great. I don't quite know if it warrants its price tag, but it is a nice oil. And it has been a while since I've done my skincare, so we are going to put on a moisturizing primer. If you are an oil person, any facial oil will work for this step. So, but if you can see, the reason I'm holding this up, it is a very, very dry foundation. It is not a creamy base. The only thing I can really compare it to that y'all might be familiar with is the RMS Uncover Up. That is very emollient when you touch it. This one is not. So that's why she also recommends using your fingers to warm it up. I find I don't really need to do that, but it can be done, especially if you're only wanting to spot cover areas on your face. For instance, if you just want coverage on your cheeks, or you just need coverage, you know, under your eyes and on your chin, you could definitely use your finger for that, and I would recommend it because it does help warm up the product. But in this case, I am going to prime with one of my most moisturizing primers so that I can replenish the moisture that's on my face. And it's the Jane Iredale Smooth Affair Facial Primer and Brightener. I have used this foundation without a primer. If I do that, I find it works best if it's pretty much within like 10 minutes of doing my skincare routine. And I don't always love doing that. I really like my skincare to sink in before I put my makeup on. So I can't say that this is one that's going to work without a primer wonderfully. I do think you need some kind of moisture underneath. So we're going to start out with the Jane Iredale primer. Smooth that all over the face. I love this stuff. And I need to color correct. So let me put the color science on real quick. Okay, now we are ready to go into the foundation. I don't want to let this primer set in too much before I start on the actual foundation. I still want it to have that moisturizing, tacky ability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do half my face with a brush and half my face with a sponge. I will go ahead and tell you that the brush is my preferred method, and my favorite brush that I found, obviously you don't have to go out and buy this, is the Bobbi Brown Full Coverage Face Brush. There's just something about how densely packed this is where I can really just stipple it on my face and it gives me the best amount of coverage. So we're going to start with that, and we're just going to kind of press it into the product. Make sure that you've got some on the brush, which I do. And again, I'm just going to stipple it on my face. You're going to feel like you're picking up a ton of product, but I promise you, you're not. I've had this foundation for probably about 4 or 5 months now, and if not, maybe 6 months. And I've used it quite regularly, and you can see the little dent, but it's not near what you would think would need to come out. So I'm just going to go back and stipple a little bit over my redness. And it's the color, I mean, really does. It matches my actual face so well that you can see the redness and discoloration being evened out, but you almost can't see the product being applied. Okay, so this is the foundation. Now, I don't know that you can get more skin-like than this. That's with pretty much 2 layers, because I did go back over it on my redness. And that's it on the forehead And then that's the side that doesn't have any. So you can see my redness and discoloration. Just, I mean, I don't have a ton to cover. I just want to even up my skin tone, excuse me. And then this side with the foundation. I mean, it's pretty. Now we're going to go in with a damp beauty blender, and we're going to pick up the foundation this way on the bottom of the beauty blender and then just tap it in. Now, I really just want to show you this way. I'm going to go back over it with a brush. Like, I'm not going to lie, because you don't get near as much coverage as you can see doing this, and I feel like you use more product. So that's with the beauty blender, that's with the brush. Again, I'm going back in with the brush. I just wanted to show you because this really is my preferred method. As far as the application, I do feel like it's best when stippled in versus buffed in, because I just think that it moves a little too much of the product. Now, even though I'm going to go over my nose with my concealer, I do want to pick up a little bit on my hand. You can see how creamy it got once my hand touched it. Because of that coconut oil, once the warmth of your finger and skin hits it, it does turn into a very creamy consistency. And I'm just going to put it down my nose and kind of blend it out with my finger, just because I feel like that prevents any brush streaks or anything like that and gives me just the right amount of coverage on my nose. So you can see the coverage that it provided on that side. Let's get up close and personal and go over the final result of just the foundation. I can't rave enough about this foundation. It is so skin-like. I mean, you can see how well it blended over my nose. There's no streaks, no uneven marks. The finish can be easily manipulated. I find that if I do choose to use some kind of facial oil under this, it is much dewier than this. I find this right here is fairly natural, especially once I put a powder on top of it, which I think I'm going to do on camera because I'm going to use the Kjaer Weis powder and I want you to see. But I'm just going to apply my concealer real quick and then we'll come back and do the powder. Okay, so if you noticed, I did not put the concealer down my nose. I felt like when I put the foundation on my nose and blended it out, it was plenty coverage. I didn't need to go back in and add more. You can use this product as a concealer. I find it to be a little drying under my eyes, but I know people who absolutely love it for that reason alone, that you can use it as a foundation and a concealer, and they use it as such. So keep that in mind. It's definitely something you could use under your eyes. And now I'm going to go into my little Salt New York palette that I have, and I'm going to use the Kjaer Weis pressed powder. This is very small. I just bought the refill because I knew I was going to be putting in a palette, and it is mondo strong. It takes forever for me to get it in there, but this is it right here. You can see the K and the W. Now, can you also see, if I can get it to focus, a little bit of a brown smudge on it? I do find that this holds on to product from the brush fairly easily. So you want to make sure that you try to avoid that at all costs by turning the brush after you set your face and using different areas so you don't put any moisture back into the pan. But this is it swatched. It's very, very lightweight. Very lightweight. Now, one thing you can do with cream foundations is rub your hands together really well and kind of press it in and have the warmth of your hands just really sink that into your skin. And as I'm doing that, a little bit came off, but I don't find the transfer is too bad, and it definitely didn't mess anything up that I already had on my face. It just helped press it into the skin. Now I'm going to go in with my Wayne Goss #2 brush. I'm going to pick up some of that powder, and I'm just going to lightly sweep it over this foundation. I just find that on my skin, it doesn't need to be set that much. It's going to be a personal preference. I have used many other powders with this foundation, and all of them have worked lovely. I like the RMS powder with it. I like the Well People powder with it. And I really like this powder. Now, I'm not saying you have to get this powder. Don't get me wrong. I don't think you do. I just wanted to show you what the foundation looks with the powder. So I'm just going to touch up. It's not really even like a mattifying powder. It just sets the foundation. Okay, so that's what it looks with the powder on. So you can still see a little bit of the natural satin sheen coming through, but it is set enough to me to make me feel comfortable going in and putting more powder products on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish up my makeup and I'll be back to give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is with a full face of makeup on top of the foundation and the powder. Everything went on really well. You can see how the powder and the foundation are still laying like they were when I applied them. Yeah, I feel like everything else is kind of self-explanatory as you see it. So my final thoughts on this foundation, obviously, I've talked about it in my favorites before, twice, I believe. I love this foundation. Who do I think it's good for? I don't know that if you have super oily skin, you're gonna like this. Not only because it's a cream, but also because it is an oil-based foundation. Typically, those don't really match, oily skin and oil-based foundations. However, there have been cases where I find that oily skinned people find that oil-based foundations actually help decrease their oils throughout the day. Kind of the same philosophy of using a facial oil if you have oily skin, tricking your body into thinking, or your skin into thinking, that it has enough oil so it doesn't produce enough of its own. I don't know. The good thing about it is that you can get samples of this foundation from a few different places. The two that I can think of off my top of my head are Citrine Beauty Bar, and I will try to remember to link them down below, as well as Integrity Botanicals. So I would suggest that if you just want to try it out, no matter your skin type, because it is a bit of a hefty price tag to drop on a foundation. Beautylish also carries this, so you are able to use at least 2 flexible payments on it because it is above the $50 mark. If you add something onto it, you can do 3 flexible if it's over the $100 mark. So that is the really good news, that you can try this out. I mean, obviously you're gonna have to wait for it to come through mail. You can't go swatch it at the counter or anything like that. But the fact that you are able to get samples in any capacity, I believe, is an awesome thing. So if you have normal to combo skin, I think you will actually enjoy this. If you have normal to dry skin, I think you will enjoy this. The drier your skin is, the more you will need to prep your face for this foundation. If you do have dry spots or patches, I do suggest using an oil, some kind of facial oil before this foundation. But if you put it on, especially on targeting those dry spots with your finger, again, because the warmth will help make the foundation more emollient, and then just press it into the areas where your dry patches are the worst, I think you will be very happy with the results. If you have mature skin, I feel like the only thing different is that you are going to, you have more fine lines. This is not a foundation that by the end of the day, I find never sinks into my smile lines, but it is one of the least offensive of my foundations. So keep that in mind. Again, if you have more fine lines and wrinkles that you're wanting to work this foundation into, I would suggest using your finger and really just buffing it in that way, and you can work it the best into the skin that way. I feel like if you have areas of concern when it comes to fine lines and wrinkles. How long can I hold this up? Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Longevity, it lasts wonderful for me. It lasts really well throughout a workout. I don't find that it breaks up on me. In fact, I would say it's probably, I don't know. I really need to do my favorite cream foundation video and rank it, but it is way up there. I truly enjoy this foundation. I enjoy the ingredients. Now, if you have, I probably already talked about this in the intro, but if you have a sensitivity to coconut oil, obviously don't use this foundation. But if you just have acne-prone skin, don't rule it out. I would still get a sample because I have seen reviews by bloggers who have acne-prone skin and have not had an issue with this foundation. So I don't want you to rule it out completely because I still think it would look absolutely gorgeous on the skin if you are able to tolerate it. So at least I would look into getting a sample. So hopefully that was a all-around helpful and informative review on the Kjaer Weis Cream Foundation. If you have any extra comments, as always, leave them down in the comment section below, and I will be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. And I thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.